Hey, what's up, guys? Imagine a world where your parents are dead and no one wants you. Pretty dark. You get fired from your most recent job because you were living inside your workplace, all because you couldn't afford a place to stay. Getting fired constantly, while your bosses believe you'll be fine since you're such a handsome boy. But on your darkest day, you decide to jump, only to be rescued by a vampire who needs your blood. Now, you live your days going to school with him at an all-boys academy. But the twist? You're secretly a girl. This is the dramatic story of Vampire Dormitory. So let's get started and watch the story unfold. Mito Yamamoto. After work today, you're fired. These words were spoken to Mito by his boss after learning he'd been secretly sleeping overnight at the restaurant. Mito apologized because he had nowhere else to stay, but once he saves up enough, he'll find a place. However, his boss was not having it. There's been a lot of customer complaints. Not by the women. They were completely charmed by Mito, who always came to the restaurant for him. But the male patrons felt completely uncomfortable entering the shop. The boss gave Mito his bag, and even though Mito was in a tight spot, the boss's business couldn't be bothered by that kind of hassle. He was certain a pretty boy like Mito could find work anywhere. Mito leaves defeated, unable to get his pay from work once again. While contemplating his poor life decisions, the girls passing by mention how cool he is, and with one look, they all lose their minds over how hot they think he is. But to his dismay, with only 12 yen in his wallet, it looks like he's camping outside tonight. Mito makes his prayers to his mother and father in the heavens, as he's in a pinch right now. No, he's always been in a pinch, ever since his parents suddenly died. His house set ablaze. He couldn't even remember much when his parents had passed. Everything that was normal until then was completely gone. After that, he was passed around from one relative to the next, treated as a nuisance wherever he went, even thrown out by his remaining family since he'd gotten through his compulsory education. After that, Mito desperately looked for a job, having a hard time finding anything. He thought he'd try a place somewhere over the bridge. As Mito walked, it suddenly began to rain, and he found himself desperately running with only the bag over his head. He found himself soaked under a cover, and gradually passed out from not having eaten anything in a while now. Whoops, so looks like he fell into a pot in a restaurant he was standing in front of. But then suddenly found one of the workers standing behind him, checking on Mito's bleeding finger. The worker took Mito into the back in order to tend to the wound, and even though Mito said he was fine, with the worker grabbing onto him, the two began blushing as he licked Mito's wound. The worker, Ruka Saotome, cried as the blood was disgusting, and fell to the ground, coughing as he exclaimed Mito's blood to be thick, sticky, tasting like curry that went rotten and sat out for an extra week. But Mito was the one reasonably concerned, since Ruka suddenly licked the wound without being asked. However, the color was so pretty, apparently Ruka wanted to taste it. Something only a vampire would say. But Mito thought there was no way. After kicking Mito out of the restaurant, Ruka's butler, Komori, asked him how the blood tasted, because it's been 10 years since Ruka drank blood from a human. Ruka remarked it as disgusting, saying the blood of a man just won't do, making Komori surmise the reason being because that boy isn't loved by anyone. How much a human has been loved and how much they've loved in return determines how sweet and delicious their blood becomes, apparently. A woman's blood is the finest, but a man's blood can be just as sweet as the amount he is loved. So Komori prompts Ruka to ripen Mito's blood. However, with memories flashing through Ruka's mind, he slaps his butler's hand away, saying if all blood is that disgusting, he'd rather keep drinking his strawberry juice. Ruka wants to be the one to decide who he will make his thrall, and doesn't want to be told what to do. But Komori reminds Ruka what his purpose here is, coming to the human world. Komori needs him to accomplish something so Ruka can take his place as the leader of the vampires. Mito continues to run in the rain, getting an unlucky splash from a vehicle passing by. He continues to walk onto the bridge, knowing he has nowhere to go, knowing no one needs him. As he sits on the edge, he wonders that if he jumps off from here, would anyone even notice if he was gone? No. Just because I'm broke doesn't mean I should be this negative. Maybe tomorrow I'll find my next job and... Mito suddenly slips as he was regaining his determination, but he doesn't want to die. With eyes closed, he hears Ruka's voice saying, If you want someone to need you that badly, I could be the one who needs you, if you want. And we see him suddenly catch Mito, asking him if he's alright. Mito, teary-eyed, can't remember the last time he's been asked that. He cries over acting so stupid, but feels somewhat happy about this, only to hear Ruka suddenly say that if he keeps acting this way, his blood is going to taste worse than it already does. Ruka then suddenly takes a bite at Mito's neck, drinking the blood. Mito then gets thrown against the railing, with Ruka telling him that even though the blood is disgusting, it's still drinkable. He wondered why Mito was trying to jump, but Mito responds that he wasn't. He was just sitting on the edge, thinking about how no one needs him. So, Ruka told Mito he needs him. Mito wondered if Ruka was really a vampire, a being only known from myths and fairy tales, but doesn't have the energy to stay awake. With that, Ruka takes Mito away across the sky. Later, Mito woke up to a cat and a bat and Ruka reading. This place is apparently the boys' dormitory where Ruka lives. The dormitory of Hijirigaoka Boys Academy, where Ruka is a student. He prepared a bath for Mito, and so he should go have one and then be on his way. Mito was a little confused as he thought he was going to be Ruka's vampire thrall. However, Ruka changed his mind. Even though he'd been looking for a human like Mito all along, he doesn't intend to take blood from someone who's scared of him. But just thinking about how someone finally wanted him, Mito desires to be Ruka's thrall, only to get quickly thrown into the bathroom for acting too desperate. Mito learns his blood is disgusting because he doesn't know what it means to be loved. To improve the taste, Ruka could love him, and all Mito would need to do is learn to be loved. Thoughts flooded Mito's mind, wondering if he could finally experience what it means to be loved. He desires it, desires to learn how to be loved so he can prove useful to Ruka. Surprised that Mito agreed, the two exchanged names, with Ruka telling Mito that he'll love him every day to improve the blood quality. This gets Mito embarrassed, shoving Ruka out, making the excuse that he's got to take a bath now. As Mito gets undressed, Ruka tells him how he's been saved. He'd been looking for a beautiful boy like Mito for a long time, since he can't suck the blood of human women. Which is most unfortunate because Mito is actually a girl. Oh no, what's she gonna do? Mito wakes up to the screeching cat, Marion, only to get pulled back into bed by Ruka. She screeches, wondering why they have to share a bed together, and while casually scratching his bedhead, Ruka tiredly responds it's to make Mito's blood taste better, of course. Mito stares, blushing. Reflecting on her decision to become Ruka's thrall for a place to stay, he had taken Mito in on the impression that she was a boy, a lie that Mito hopes he never finds out. Ruka pulls Mito into bed because it's time for his breakfast. She wasn't prepared for this first thing in the morning. However, with a glittering look, Ruka proclaims Mito's job as a thrall is to let him drink whenever he wants, only to subsequently get sick from the taste. Mito is a little concerned that her neck is gonna fill with holes, but with a light stroke, Ruka heals them with ease. The bat from yesterday then flies in, and wow, it's actually Ruka's butler, Komori. He brings Mito a uniform because starting today, she'll be attending Hijirigaoka Boys Academy. As Mito walks in the halls with Ruka, she has a growing concern that people will find out she's actually a girl. Thinking Mito is just nervous on her first day, Ruka assures her the people in class are nice and she'll fit in with no problem. Introducing herself, the guys in her class think she's so pretty. Takara hopes that if Mito knows any cute girls, he gets dibs on meeting them first. Everyone is so nice except for Ren Nikaido, who comes in, glaring at her. After school, Ruka invites Mito to work part-time at the cafe with him, since she needs money. Luckily, the cafe is owned by his butler Komori, so he accepts Mito with no problems. In the changing rooms, Mito blushes as Ruka undresses. She definitely doesn't want to reveal her body, so she tells him she'll change after he finishes. But Ruka insists they change together, which gets Mito so flustered she shoves him out. At the start of their shift, Takara offers to help Mito in any way he can. Observing Juri's work, Mito thinks of him as so cute and doll-like. However, seeing her, he just scoffs. Maybe he's just in a bad mood. Then suddenly, Mito notices the crowd of girls swarming to be served by Ruka. Looking at them swooning all over him, Mito can't help but think with their charms and beauty, their blood must taste much better than hers. Ruka tells Mito to get the dried fruit from the pantry, and on the way over, she's fixated on the idea that Ruka could truly drink delicious blood from any of the girls he wants, making her feel inferior. Juri appears, asking Mito what she's plotting. He knows there's something different about her. What is she hiding? He thinks Mito is using Ruka and deceiving him. She backs into the shelves, causing the cookware to fall. However, Ruka appears to save her, and now he's bleeding from the head. Juri feels bad about this. However, Mito doesn't fault him at all, and then she escorts Ruka back to the dorms. He'll recover once he drinks some blood, so Mito immediately assumes a drinkable position. After taking a healthy drink, Ruka begins to cough. Is it because her blood is so disgusting? Because she doesn't know what love is? She tears up, telling him if only her blood were delicious, like a girl's. However, Ruka only wants Mito, not just anyone. He licks her tears? I don't know how romantic that is. He also assures Mito he just choked from drinking too fast. But now his wound is fully healed. He then places an ornament around her neck, called a sang sucre, which measures the taste of human blood. Right now, her blood is disgusting, so the heart's blue. But when she eventually ripens, the color will become a delicious strawberry red. He then blames himself for not being able to drink women's blood. That's why he must rely on a boy like Mito. Yeah, about that. As Ruka is about to elaborate on why he can't drink the blood of women, Komori appears to reveal Ruka's secret bookcase. The reason he can't drink female blood is because, and I quote, he's a huge otaku vampire who's only into 2D girls. Mito stares with a somewhat lost curiosity. So Ruka further elaborates his favorite anime is Love Magi, a show where two magical girls who escape from an evil organization fight to save the world. A masterpiece, passionately drawn to depict love, justice, and friendship. They also say a magic catchphrase, "May your heart be filled with love and magic," something that Ruka ridiculously imitates. Ruka feels completely judged for his ridiculous otaku hobbies, especially also given that he's bad with 3D women. However, this makes Mito happy knowing she has a real purpose here. With her teasing him, Ruka doesn't take it too kindly. Regardless, Mito is hoping she can stay here forever. During breakfast, Mito enjoys the cafeteria food at the academy, voraciously eating to recover from all the blood loss. Juri remarks that Mito seems to eat a lot in the morning. Takeda asks how Ruka's doing since yesterday's incident, but she doesn't want to reveal Ruka's otaku secret. She then tells Juri that he was right. She is hiding something, but promises it's nothing that would hurt Ruka or any of them. Juri accepts this, and as he's about to reveal a secret himself, Takeda comes back because he wants in on it too, but this ends up going nowhere. They then hear motor noises, and outside, Mito spots her classmate Ren as he takes off his helmet. Juri remarks that Ren is a delinquent that gets into fights all the time. Walking in the dorms, she gets called out by Ren, and why is he in front of her room? He introduces himself and tells her they need to talk in the backyard. He cracks the brick wall, asking Mito if she knows that Ruka's a vampire. However, Ruka is next to appear, and when he goes to cover Mito, Ren leaves, not even wanting to talk to Ruka. During judo class, Mito is amazed watching Ren take down another boy. He also cracked a wall earlier. How could he be this strong? Juri mentions Ren's strength has always seemed unhuman, much like Ruka's speed. Mito's opponent is the bad boy Ren himself. She's determined to protect Ruka's secret as a vampire, but when Ren sees the bite marks on her neck, he sweeps her instantly and takes her away. Outside, Ren grabs onto Mito, telling her to go home. If she continues to get her blood sucked by Ruka, she'll eventually become a vampire too, and won't be able to live as a normal human anymore. She won't be able to go back to her parents or family, and she'll lose everything. Little does he know she doesn't have anything. He claims the undead vampires to be heartless monsters. However, Mito doesn't take this, biting his finger to release herself. She gets passionate, saying living humans have been bigger monsters to her. Judging her on the way she looks, she already has no parents or a place to call home. No one else wanted her except for Ruka. To her, Ruka has a bigger heart than anyone. She promises she won't let Ruka turn her into a vampire, which causes Ren to pat her head. He just doesn't want Mito to get hurt. With everything resolved, the two ditch class, all while Ruka had been observing them. Hearing everything she said, Ruka wonders what these feelings he's having are. As a child, Ren has always had ridiculous strength, accidentally hurting other boys around him. Parents would often call him a monster and tell their kids not to play with him ever again, but his mother would always comfort him and tell him he's fine the way he is. As he stared at his reflection, he felt Mito's words were a lot like his dear mother's. It's another day of cafe work for Mito, and with her now getting the hang of things, Jura and Takara want to host a welcome party for her next weekend. They'll have a barbecue, which sounds absolutely delicious to Mito. She starts begging Ruka to go with her, getting him flustered, but he pushes her away saying, "Geez, I'll go," which makes Mito excited. Ruka closes his eyes as his heart begins beating rapidly, and seeing him losing composure, Komori wonders if there's something wrong. With his face flushed, Ruka can't comprehend these feelings he's having. That night, Takara explains they'll be going on a glamping trip, so there won't be any need to bring a tent or sleeping bags, as it'll be an outdoor experience preset for them. Their campsite will even have an outdoor hot spring. Seeing the joy on Mito's face brings Ruka a light smile. However, Ren watching them a table away doesn't get the same feeling. Ruka and Mito remind Ren of his mother. There was a time where she apologized to him because she still desperately loved his father, even though being with him further would no longer make her human. And that very night, his father carried her away towards a red moon. Ren blamed himself for being unable to protect his mother. That's why he'll make sure he'll protect Mito. The gang arrives at their beautiful campsite, and finding their luxurious tent, Mito thinks it to be so amazing how the tent looks like a hotel. She jumps right on the bed with excitement, especially with this being a lot different than the camping she was used to. She joyfully remarks she'd never been on a vacation with her family, or ever gone anywhere with friends before, making Juro wonder what kind of life she lived. As they begin setting up camp, it looks like the bad boy Ren has arrived on his motorcycle. As they stare at him, he looks back at them, and with no shame, just sets up his own tent right in front of theirs. Even though Takara tells them all just to ignore him, Mito wonders if this is what Ren meant when he said he was gonna protect her. Ren looks at them again, and there's only silence. So Ruka breaks it by picking Mito up and dropping her into the water. The water's cold, but Ruka tells her it's her fault that she's thinking of other guys when Mito is his thrall. So she pulls him in with her as payback, and the two start splashing each other in the water. As Ruka is about to start helping with the barbecue, Mito stops him to thank Ruka for letting her go camping today. She's never had this much fun in her life. Ruka casually replies, "Yeah," while looking away. Water then gets into Mito's eye, so when she pulls up her shirt to wipe it, Ruka begins staring at her, but she has no idea why. Getting flustered herself, she runs inside the tent, making the excuse that she's gonna change clothes, but unsure of why her heart is beating so fast. As she begins to undress, Ren starts talking to her on the other side of the tent, asking Mito if she's convinced Ruka not to turn her into a vampire. Apparently she agreed with Ren to do that, but she hasn't yet, so he wonders if Mito is backing out on her promise to prove there's nothing for him to worry about. Ren then solemnly tells Mito that if she doesn't, he's going to take her from Ruka by force. Ooh. That night, the gang enjoys their barbecue, while Ren's got his own thing going. Afterwards, Ruka has to drink some blood in private, even still finding the taste gross. He feels it's great to finally be able to drink blood again. Getting past her nerves, Mito asks if she's going to become a vampire someday because of this. So Ruka responds in laughter that he's not planning on doing that to her. They're actually not allowed to create more vampires like that. That's why every vampire has what's called a destined partner, a woman with the best blood that male vampires must only feed on when finding them. So Mito is a placeholder until Ruka finally meets his. Hearing this gets Mito upset, and she doesn't know why. She runs away into the forest, thinking she's hurting because of Ruka, but can't put her finger on the reason. A moth lands on her head, freaking her out. With Ruka catching up to her, Mito runs to hold on to him. He comforts her, and Mito notices Ruka's heart is beating just as fast as hers. Staring at Mito's lips, Ruka suddenly pushes her back, denying what she said. Later, Mito makes it to the mixed-gender outdoor hot spring. She takes off her disguise, thinking no one else should show up. She reflects on her sad reality that when Ruka finds his destined partner, she won't be able to stay with him anymore. She then snaps out of her sadness, reminding herself she came here to have a good time with everyone. Ren came towards the hot spring, looking for Mito, and was shocked to find a woman enjoying a soak. Discovering that Mito is a girl, he lets her know he's coming in, and she quickly puts her disguise back on. which makes Ren totally buy that Mito is still a guy. She knows she's gotta get out of here, but that doesn't stop Ren from saying he's gonna join her. He soaks his head in the water, scaring Mito into thinking she's gonna get exposed, but Ren was just doing it as a form of relaxation. She notices the scars on his back, making Ren wonder if it bothers her. With him being so strong, people are always picking fights with him. He'd beat many people to the point that they treat him like a monster. Mito tells him he's nothing like that. If he was trying to defend himself, those other guys are the bad ones, not him. She tells Ren he's a little awkward but still nice, especially with him being worried about her. To her, Ren is a reliable friend. Ren turns away, embarrassed, trying to coolly respond, since when did I become your friend? Giving Mito a chance to escape. A loud thud occurred, and Ren rushed inside the changing room to find Mito passed out. Oh, she just stayed in the steaming water for too long, so now Ren has to carry her. He tells her she's a handful and if she keeps it up, she'll be a vampire in no time. But Mito reassures him it's fine, since Ruka has no intention of making her a vampire. He's gotta save it for his destined partner. The other three guys arrive and Ruka gets pissed seeing Mito on Ren's back. Ren calmly explains he didn't do anything wrong and that he's just carrying Mito because she overheated from the bath. Mito gets off from Ren, and then Ruka aggressively pulls her over. After Ren takes off, Ruka confirms Mito is burning up. The two other boys had planned on doing fireworks. However, Ruka takes Mito away, saying she needs to rest. He gets on top of her on the bed, telling Mito he won't forgive her if she does something like that again. She understands he was so worried about her. Ruka then gets a cold towel to cool her down, and as he wipes her legs, Mito feels so good, knowing Ruka is only looking at her, only thinking of her. But remembering she's just a placeholder for his destined partner, she's hurt once again. Ruka then gets called to bring out the rest of the fireworks from the tent, and as he's about to go, Mito hugs onto him, saying he can't go. She gets a little selfish, saying if he leaves, her blood will taste disgusting again. She doesn't care if it's until he meets his destined partner. Right now, she wants him to love her more. After her bold actions, she falls, but Ruka catches her. Seeing her passed out, he gets frustrated because he was just about to forget the weird feelings he had for her. He then goes in, not for a bite, but a kiss. However, when she utters his name, he stops. Ruka wonders what he was about to do since Mito is a guy. He runs out of the tent, confused about his feelings, only to find Komori. Komori tells Ruka he already has someone picked for him, so he cannot fall for Mito. If he does, he'll never be allowed to meet this destined partner, and will forever wander this world as a bloodthirsty vampire. He must become the Lord of the Vampires and take Komori's place. And with Komori taking off, Ruka swears he won't fall for anyone in the meantime. With the weekend over, Juri and Takara walk through the halls. Mito comes up to them asking where Ruka is. Ever since they got back from camping, he keeps wandering off alone. Now he's always leaving really early in the morning and coming back late at night. He also hasn't drank any of Mito's blood since camp. He must be hungry. On another day, Ruka left for school without her again. She hasn't seen him for a week now. She gasps, having finally found him. She reaches out to grab Ruka, only for him to casually ask what Mito wants. She screams out that he hasn't sucked her blood in a week, and drags him to a classroom for privacy. Inside, Mito reveals her skin so he can drink. However, Ruka just says he's not hungry. Mito doesn't believe him. She wants him to drink a lot of her blood, a week's worth if he needs it. Ruka gives a somewhat saddened look and touches Mito's face, making her happy as if he's about to drink. However, the happiness turns to disappointment as Ruka tells her he's still not hungry and storms out. At work, Mito sits depressed. She can tell Ruka is clearly avoiding her. She questioned if it was too much that she asked him to love her. Komori then suddenly appears, asking her what's wrong. He gives her some tea to help her relax, then asks if there's something wrong with Ruka. Mito opens up that he hasn't been drinking her blood lately, and would hate to think it's her fault that he's starving himself. Komori acknowledges Mito's kindness, saying no wonder Ruka is craving more than just her blood. Then, the sound of women screaming makes Mito step out of the changing room, and it seems they're screaming over Ren. Mito's happy to see he's come to visit. Ren asks if she's feeling better now, but when she answers she's feeling great, Ren then questions why she's wearing a facade. He then tells Komori he's taking Mito away, and Mito gets dragged out of the cafe. However, Ruka isn't happy about this at all. The two ride out on Ren's motorcycle, and Mito asks what this is all about. With them arriving at a shopping district, he just says with this being his first time hanging out with a friend, he has no idea how to make her feel better. So, he'll just tag along with her and do whatever she wants here. As the two walk, Mito lights up seeing a dress shop, with girls happily walking out of it. She thinks, if only I weren't dressed like a man, and I'd met Ruka as a girl. She heads straight in, with Ren unsure of why Mito would want to go inside a store for girls. She marvels over the cute clothing, having Ren wait outside as she tries a dress on. Trying the dress on, Mito looks at the mirror, wondering if Ruka saw her like this, would things be different? But then, she hears girls outside saying they heard a boy is in the changing room, and they want to take a peek. With them about to lift the curtains, Ruka appears to stop them, giving Mito feelings of relief. Ruka defends her, asking what's wrong with a girl or boy wearing whatever they want. He even pisses the two girls off by saying Mito, a boy, would look much better in a dress than them. Seeing Mito, Ruka gets completely flustered. Mito then tells him straight up she wanted to try this on to entice him into drinking her blood, but she now feels nervous, thinking it looks weird on her. However, Ruka can't take his eyes away. His gaze is so intense it's making Mito nervous. Ruka drags his finger up her arm all the way to her face, telling her he wants to drink this feminine version of her. But remembering Komori's words telling him he can't fall for Mito, he stops himself, just saying she's an important friend to him. Ruka doesn't want Mito to push herself and pretend to be a woman. He'll love her as a friend. As he goes to drink her blood, Ren then pulls open the curtains, saying he's still against Ruka drinking Mito's blood. The two boys get into a little scuffle, making Mito laugh. She thanks them for becoming her friends and pushes them out so she can change back. However, the two boys wonder what's up with Mito's cute girl act. Back in Ruka's dorm, Mito notices the Sang Sucre's color is different. Ruka is excited to hear it's gone from blue to orange, and begins patting Mito on her head, congratulating the good job he's done pouring his love into her. Komori then appears, saying before Ruka begins his blood feast, they should make it taste even better. He's prepared a bath for Mito to freshen up, and afterwards, use this special strawberry cologne that helps stir up a vampire's appetite. And Mito should come out with this bathrobe. With Komori stepping out of the bathroom, Ruka asks him what's going on since he wants to love Mito as a friend. Komori then smugly answers that because of Ruka's love, Mito is releasing more pheromones than previously, and tells Ruka to take extra caution to not fall in love with Mito, and then he leaves. Mito comes out of the bathroom exactly as Komori instructed, asking if she did things right, causing Ruka to lose it. Mito still isn't sure if her blood tastes better or not, but she's sure things will be alright, since both he and Ren love her as a friend. The irresistible strawberry scent wafts around Ruka. He goes up to her and tells Mito, "Not Ren. I love you far more than he does." "Mito, don't I?" Mito answers, "Yeah," but there's a hint of sadness. As Ruka feasts, Mito keeps thinking it's love as a friend. That's right. Nothing more or less. She notices Ruka's drinking longer than usual. She asks him how it tastes, and when he stops drinking, he tells her she went from rotten curry to a rotten strawberry, and heads to the bathroom to go puke. Well, the taste is probably no good until the Sang Sucre changes to red. Standing against the bathroom door, Ruka admits he was so into it, until Mito said his name. The feelings were enough for him to forget how awful the blood tasted. Does that mean he likes... No way! Ruka can't be in love with a man. Just because he's no good with women doesn't mean he'd fall for a guy. He thinks Mito's as flat as a board, short, and just a regular high school boy. But just for a sec, Ruka thought he was cute. He steps out of the bathroom seeing the cat fighting with Mito. He immediately tells Mito to go get a girlfriend. If Mito gets a woman to love, maybe his nasty blood might taste decent for once. So meeting up with the other two boys, Takada plans to set up a mixer for all of them. With Ruka pumped, certain Mito will definitely get a girlfriend now, Takada gets an immediate response from 4 girls from the school next door. However, Juri doesn't want to go and just leaves. And look who they got as a substitute, an unhappy Ren. Mito apologizes to him, making Ren blush, telling her to stop smelling like a sweet fruit and man up. Takada then arrives with the 4 first years from Hijirigaoka Girls' School, who gracefully introduce themselves. All 4 of them are fans of Cafe La Frise, and Mina in particular has been wanting to talk to Mito. The boys are stunned. Takada shoves Mito over to her, and Mina asks to go for a little stroll outside with her, leaving both Ruka and Ren agape. Walking outside, Mito can't believe she's actually alone with a girl. Mina apologizes for her abruptness and asks Mito if she's interested in relationships. Little did they know, Ruka and Ren were tailing them. Ren thought Ruka was the one who set this up. However, Ruka believes it's way too soon for Mito to go out with a girl, but he feels the two already look good together. With a car speeding by, Mito pulls Mina in close to protect her. With Mina feeling a type of way, Ruka is shocked watching everything. He can't bear watching things continue to unfold, so he begins to head out. With Ren even remarking, Ruka looks like he's gotten his heart broken. However, Ruka dismisses the claim, saying Mito is a guy and just a friend. That's all. Mina confesses she's loved someone for a while now. Thinking Mina is about to confess to her, Mito nervously tries to figure out how to turn her down. But it turns out, Mina has been crushing on Ruka for so long. She heard Mito was rooming with Ruka and couldn't bear waiting. She wants to know if Ruka has a girlfriend. Hearing this, Mito gets a little saddened, knowing she herself is only a friend to Ruka. But for some reason, her chest is hurting so much. She answers that Ruka doesn't have a girlfriend, which brightens Mina right up. Mina doesn't believe she'll ever have a chance to get with Ruka, but she was still worried that her confession might trouble him. Looking at Mina, Mito thought of her as a good girl, the total opposite of how she viewed herself. She thought if only someone like Mina was Ruka's thrall. Consulting with Mito, Mina felt a lot better. Seeing her off, Mito kept thinking to herself that everyone should always wish for their friend's happiness. Yet, she felt worse. But Ren was still there for her. A gasp as he watched tears drop from Mito's eyes, being the only one there as a shoulder for her to cry on. As they stood together, a sudden pulsation ran through Ren. He uttered, "No, don't come out." Writhing in pain, he begged Mito to get away from him. If she doesn't, he is gonna come out. "Are those fangs?" Ren shouts at Mito to back away. She doesn't listen though, and the scent compels him to go in for a bite. But Mito's able to push him away. However, seeing his red eyes and heavy breathing, this is not the Ren she knows. Ren then grabs her arms and holds her down, and as he goes for a bite, Mito screams for him to stop, bringing him back to his senses. Ren felt terrible for hurting his friend, all because of his father's blood that's inside of him. He then takes off to go recompose himself. As Mito walks back home, she thinks of all the words Ren had said to her as a warning to protect her from becoming a vampire. With him nearly going for her neck, she now wondered if he was also a vampire. Where Ren was at, he was pissed at himself knowing he said he was going to protect Mito. But if this keeps up, he's no different than Ruka. Taking a quick glance at the wall he crushed, he tried to reaffirm himself that he's nothing like those vampires. Mito makes it back home, disturbed at Ruka's magical girl gaming session, all while he eccentrically shouted, "Even up against something like this, love magic girls won't lose. And you'd lose by not liking this video and subscribing to my channel, because here at my Shoujo Weekly, I got plenty of spicy romances like this one. So hit that subscribe and give me a like." With Ruka now noticing Mito was home, she's somewhat surprised he worked up such a sweat playing this game. Ruka just stared at her for a moment, and then asked how it was for Mito spending that time with Mina. He asked if Mito at least kissed her, but she had no idea what he was going on about. As he playfully bantered, "Aw, come on, you were with her this whole time, weren't you?" Mito's anger just kept building more and more, especially thinking about how Mina was crushing on Ruka. She shouted at him that he didn't understand a girl's feelings at all. With him wondering what this had to do with himself, Mito continued saying Ruka wouldn't even notice if a girl liked him. He's always hugging and biting as if he's giving a kiss, making people's hearts flutter. Ruka now stared wide-eyed. with Mito shrinking back a little because she mistakenly made it more about herself than Mina. Then Ruka came up to her, questioning if this anger is really about her as well. He then threw her down on the couch and asked if she was always this excited around him. Mito's heart began beating like crazy. She wondered what she was going to do, knowing if their bodies touched, Ruka would be able to feel it. And feeling it now, he asked Mito, "Do I excite you? Even though you're a man, you're reacting to a guy like me?" However, Mito pushed him off, denying she'd ever get excited by him. She ran out of the room into the halls, trying to deny to herself that Ruka ever got her excited. But staring at her reflection and seeing how flustered she was, she had to look away. With her heart still fluttering, she wondered if she really did love Ruka, but felt a little empty, knowing Ruka only thought of her as a man. After washing his face, Ruka sat a little depressed, wondering if he teased Mito too much. He wanted to know Mito's true feelings and couldn't help himself. Touching his own heart, he felt it still pounding, but noticing Mito hasn't come home, he wonders where she is. Wandering the streets, passing by some girls who talk about their love confessions, Mito thought about coming out and telling Ruka the truth. But maybe he'd respond by telling her she'd been fooling with him this whole time. Mito accidentally bumps into some scary guys and apologizes. However, the man she bumped into grabs her face and realizes Mito is definitely a girl. After all, Mito looks cute and feminine when she cries. The man then grabs Mito's arm and she has no way to defend herself. But luckily, Ren socks him right in the face. And even those boys know who Ren Nikaido is. With a single threat, those guys run off. Ren then begins leaving while telling Mito she should head back to the dorms. But with Mito still thinking she herself looks too girly right now, she doesn't think it's a good idea for her to head back. She grabs on the back of Ren's shirt and tells him right now she doesn't want to go home to Ruka. But unbeknownst to them, Ruka was patrolling the city, spotting a girl he thought was Mito with another man, but it wasn't. Komori could tell Ruka was desperate with Mito, a man not even his destined partner. However, Ruka denied this, saying they were just friends, all while remembering how he was teasing her. We turn back to the boys' dormitory, where Mito told Ren she didn't want to go home. Ren then grabbed onto her and jumped over the fence, reaffirming to Mito that he definitely wasn't human. But what happened next really surprised her. Ren told Mito he was taking her to his dorm. In Ren's room, it's incredibly basic and empty. He tells Mito he's going to sleep outside so she can use the bed. Mito felt bad for imposing and told Ren he can sleep here too. However, Ren reminded her she could get bitten again like earlier. Mito then asked if Ren was a vampire, and he responded, "No, he's something in between. His mother is human and father is a vampire. With him being born in between, he'd be known as a vampire. He was too strong to be human even as a kid. Everyone around him thought he was creepy for it, but even when he tried to join the vampires, they rejected him, of course. He couldn't be a part of either world. His mother was his only ally, but even she followed his father and became a vampire." Ren felt unneeded by everyone. Hearing all this though, Mito felt like they were so much alike. She didn't have memories of her parents. She was passed around by her relatives constantly. She had finally made it to the school, thinking she had found a place to belong, but she couldn't stop herself from thinking Ruka didn't need her as a woman. Ren walked up, almost ready to console her physically, but he stopped himself, and even knowing they both felt they had no place to belong, he just tells her not to get close to him. This is because there's no telling when he'll go berserk with his half-vampire blood running through his veins. Mito then comes up with the most logical idea. Ren sleeps on the floor and she sleeps on the bed. Oh, and the next best idea to not rile up Ren's vampire blood? Mito needs pajamas, so she has him turn around so she can dress like this? Oh my god. She's celebrating how one of Ren's shirts is so big, it's like a perfect pajama for her. Mito is excited though, thinking since they're so far apart, for sure it's not gonna make Ren act up. As they lie in bed, Mito thanks Ren for protecting her. She now knows he was doing it so she didn't end up like his mother. Ren blushed and turned away, but Mito just keeps going on, saying how Ren is always there for her whenever she's in a pinch, and no matter what Ren is, they'll always be friends. Ren just says, whatever, and decides to go to bed. However, Mito couldn't help but wonder what Ruka was doing. Arriving back to his room, Komori taunted Ruka for the sad look on his face, not having found Mito in town at all. He reminded Ruka of his promise to not fall in love with others, but this wasn't going to stop Ruka from being worried about Mito. Back in Ren's room, as Mito rested, Ren got up to caress Mito, even touching near her lips. He got face to face with her, uttering her name as he remembered her saying he was a reliable friend to him. Still thinking Mito was a guy, he wondered why he couldn't stop himself from getting closer and closer to Mito. But before their lips could touch, Mito saying Ruka's name in her sleep made Ren pull away. Mito dreamed about apologizing to Ruka, and seeing the tears drip down her face, Ren wiped them away. Remembering Mito also felt like she didn't belong anywhere just like him. Ren whispered, "Don't worry, I'm by your side." He then lied right beside her and passed out. With a knock on the door, Ruka searched dorm after dorm after dorm, waking nearly every boy up asking for where Mito is. Ruka told the boys Mito ran away from home last night and that he couldn't find him in town, but knowing Mito had nowhere else to go, Ruka felt Mito had to be here somewhere. The last room unchecked was only Ren's room. With a knocking on Ren's door, Mito began waking up. In Ren's arms? Ren woke up too, to the banging at his door. However, with no response to the knocking, Ruka decided to kick the door down. And oh my god, Ren and Mito are in the worst position, sitting up like they slept together all night. However, Ren just casually asked why Ruka was being so loud and why he is here. Juri then asked why Mito was in Ren's room, but again, Ren just casually answers, "What do you mean? I just let him stay over, that's all." Ruka is super pissed, grabbing onto Ren's shirt, asking, "What did you do to my Mito?" Ren clapped back, asking since when was Mito Ruka's property. Mito screamed for Ruka to stop, because she was the one who asked Ren to let her stay here. Ren then grabbed onto Ruka's wrist to free himself, telling Ruka that if Mito is so important to him, he should have a better hold of her. Ruka is upset, knowing he's lost this battle, and leaves, saying if she likes Ren so much more than himself, she should just stay here from now on. In the city streets, Ruka was saddened and wondering if he was too harsh again, or was Mito in the wrong for staying in Ren's room. He was frustrated having searched everywhere last night, unable to find Mito. Looking at the dresses next to him, he remembered Mito saying she wore it just to entice him into drinking from her. He now wondered about his confusing feelings. Why did he keep thinking of Mito as a woman? After seeing Mito had spent the night with Ren, Ruka took off with his heart broken. Mito was unsure about what to do, knowing she really hurt him. Takara and Juri attempted to console her, just saying Ruka was pissed because he was worried about her. The two boys then mentioned they felt like skipping school today, and invited Mito on a day out to lighten her mood up. Well, they dragged her along anyway, but somehow the three ended up at the beach, and after Mito changed, they built sandcastles and got some food. Walking along the beach, some girls fawn over Mito, thinking she's really cute, embarrassing her a little. But the embarrassment gets washed away when the gang enjoys some inner tubing. After getting a selfie with Juri, some water splashes on them, and Mito remarks the taste of the water being somewhat salty. This is actually her first time at a beach, and the fun continues with Takara pushing them along the water to enjoy the gentle breeze, until he suddenly disappears. With some of the girls from earlier playing in the sun, Takara is stuck admiring their bikinis. He then takes off towards the ladies, making Juri somewhat jealous, saying, "Takara always does that." Seeing this, Mito wonders what's wrong and wonders why he feels this way. She then asks Juri if he likes Takara, and Juri admits it, saying, "So you noticed, huh?" Juri does like Takara, but knows Takara likes girls, so he himself might stay unrequited forever. There's plenty of times when he feels hurt knowing this, but he won't stop liking his best friend. Takara then comes back crying after getting rejected by all the girls, who told him they'd be meeting up with their boyfriends soon. He then brought Juri a pretty Sakura seashell that he found while playing volleyball. He knew Juri liked this kind of stuff, and this really made Juri smile. Watching these two, knowing Juri's secret, Mito thinks of Juri as a strong person. She then tells them she's going to head home because she wants to properly apologize to Ruka, and the two boys agree with her. Sitting in the cafe, Ruka wants to apologize to Mito, but doesn't know how. until he spots a picture of pancakes. In the kitchen, Komori walks in to tell Ruka that Mito and the others suddenly took the day off, and he was surprised to see Ruka fluffing up a confectionery. He didn't recall Ruka having that kind of hobby, and Ruka explained he's making this as an apology to Mito. Then, one of the employees calls Ruka to say someone is there to see him, and oh, it's Mina. As she introduces herself, Ruka remembers her as the girl who confessed to Mito. Of course, that's not really what happened. Then, sometime later, Mito and the gang arrived at the cafe as well, and with Mito searching amongst the employees, she couldn't find Ruka. She then went to Komori, asking for where Ruka is, explaining she wanted to apologize to him. Komori then said he could see she truly liked Ruka. He then posed the question, if something were to interfere with her difficult destiny ahead, would she be able to overcome it? Turning over, Mito could now see that Mina was face to face with Ruka alone. Ruka tells Mina she's been quiet for a while now, and if she's got nothing to say, he's just gonna head back to work. She then finally asks him if he has someone he likes, and he wonders why he's thinking of Mito. Mina then says if there's no one else, he should go out with her, all while Mito witnesses them. Ruka is shocked because he thought Mina liked Mito, but then suddenly a pain starts pulsating within him, and he falls on one knee from anemia. He's been short on blood supply as of recently. Mito tries to run out to help him, but Komori stops her because he can see there's an exquisite meal in Mina right in front of Ruka. He then tells Mina to kindly escort Ruka to his dorm room, and all Mito can do is watch as he gets taken away. In the locker room, Mito can't help but have horrifying thoughts of Ruka and Mina together in bed, where Mina would willingly give him all the blood he wants and replace Mito as his thrall. Mito then suddenly heard the sounds of girls screaming and stepping out. It seems they're screaming over Ren, who's now working here. Komori is forcing him to help out since they're short-staffed right now. Mito tries to do his work instead, so he can get out of it, but she nearly falls over for Ren to catch her. Mito was worried about imposing on him, but he's definitely more worried about her state of mind right now. He's ready to wipe her tears because she looks like she's gonna cry. Mito's mind may be where she is now, but her heart is where Ruka is, and her heart is hurting with her thinking Ruka doesn't need her anymore. Grabbing her shoulder, Ren comforts Mito by telling her she can stay in his room as long as she likes. He then says, if you don't have a place where you belong, I'll be where you belong. Unsure of what's happening, Mito then gets called over to the kitchen, and now flush-faced, Ren wonders why he had just said all of that. Inside, Juri shows the apology dessert Ruka had made for her, with her name on it and everything. She then smiles, knowing Ruka wanted to make up with her, and tears ran down her face, understanding Ruka had been thinking of her this entire time. Juri then told her they'd handle things here, so she could go make up with Ruka. Running out with the dessert, Mito stopped to apologize to Ren, saying she already had a place she wanted to go back to, leaving him flabbergasted. Waking up, Ruka could smell an exquisite strawberry scent. It smelled so delicious, he began baring his fangs. But seeing Mina up close, he stopped and she shrieked. He then apologized for moving half asleep, although she was fine with it. However, his body began moving on its own towards her, and he didn't know why. Was it his vampire instincts craving this woman's blood? He's compelled by the love she must have experienced by everyone throughout her life. The more someone is loved, the sweeter their blood gets. It's completely different from Mito's. But Ruka feels he must go to Mito. He then plainly tells Mina he can't go out with her. He has no idea if there's someone he likes or not. But right now, Mito is the most important person to him, and nothing else matters. He openly admits the only person he could think of is Mito. But then, running in the room, Mito is astonished to see the two on the bed together. However, she tells Mina this is the only place she belongs. She wants to be the one who stays by Ruka's side. Mina comes up to Mito and says she understands. She can't be the one to make Ruka happy. With tears in her eyes, she fully supports Mito before she leaves the room. Mito then apologizes to Ruka and asks to come back to his room. He's fine with it and begins holding out his arms towards her because he's so hungry he could die. The two then embrace as he welcomes her home, and even though Mina's heart got broken, the other two boys offer some treats to cheer her up. After some blood drinking, Mito asks if Ruka is full. However, he tells her not even close and goes in for another bite, which makes her heart flutter. But then Mito's stomach starts rumbling, which makes her really embarrassed. Ruka spots the dessert he made for her earlier, and Ooh, he's sticking the strawberry right in her mouth. With some of the juice dripping, he drinks it right off of her and tells her it tastes pretty good. This flusters Mito, knowing their lips were close together. He then puts the piece of chocolate in his mouth for her to take it off him with hers. And with their eyes locked on, he admits he was lonely without her. Mito then finally accepted that she really likes Ruka. Ruka then asks if there's something he can do for her, and in her mind, all Mito wants is for him to look at her as a woman. She wants him to like her, but she can't say that out loud. So instead, she tells him she wants to go somewhere with him, just the two of them. And he agrees, but is shocked realizing that would be a date. Wait. He still thinks it's wrong for him to be with a guy. Later that night, Ren lies in bed, thinking about Mito's words telling him they'd always be friends. As he put his head to his pillow, he acknowledged that all he wanted was her. Ruka stares at a fireworks flyer, given to him by Mito. She's hoping to go with just the two of them alone. Ruka blushes at the idea of the date, as Mito adds her hopes of seeing the fireworks over their summer break and eating good food at the food stands. With it being this Saturday, he's got some stuff to do before the fireworks, so he promises to meet her by the river and gives her a head pat, making her so excited, but it's got him wondering why he's excited over this too. On Saturday, she runs to Juri and Takara's room to ask to borrow some cute clothes from Juri. With him finding out it's a date, he congratulates her. He then drags her to his closet, where he tells her she definitely needs to wear a yukata. Pulling something out, he laments over the fact that men's clothes are so plain and not cute. So, he picks out something a little more flowery. While she's getting dressed up by Juri, Ren walks by their room, and with them finishing, Juri shoves her right out the door, right onto Ren's chest. He utters her name, while blushing and staring at Mito in her cute outfit. He asks if that's a woman's yukata. Of course, still believing Mito's a boy. She tries to explain it's not what he thinks, as it's Juri's sister's yukata he let her borrow to go see the fireworks. With his comments, she then began wondering if it looked weird on her. This response put Ren in a nervous sweat. He thought, "What's been with me lately? When I look at Mito, my heart pounds," and he has a nervous gulp, trying to explain that's not what he meant. But then suddenly, the strong smell of blood wafts by him. There's another vampire in this dorm. He then asks Mito where Ruka is, and she explains he said he had something to do before the fireworks show, so that's why she's heading there early by herself. So, he decides to go with her, just until he gets there in order to keep her safe. Scouting around the corner, he can tell it's not just one or two of them. There's a number of vampires gathering. What's going on? In the night, a vampire comments that regardless of recent vampires adapting well to sunlight, the new moon with no moonlight is the most wonderful of all. Ruka asks what his vampire brethren want from him, but the guy comes up to him remarking how rude he's been since he was worried about Ruka. The founder was apparently upset, since Ruka had no desire to find his destined partner, even though it's said that one's fated partner's blood is incomparably delicious. But Ruka claps back saying his thrall is more than enough for now. However, Ruka wasn't expecting them to already know who Mito Yamamoto was. They then began to mock him over how pale his face got, and how obsessed he is over a man's disgusting blood. The main guy who's been talking tells Ruka it's a bad idea for the man who's inheriting the founder's powers to be messing around with a man. So, he suggests they eat that nuisance of a man. This pisses Ruka off so much, his power gives off an immense pressure. Regardless, they take him on, believing even he can't handle a 5 against 1. They spit on the idea that their future leader is such a half-assed vampire, so now they're gonna devour Mito. Ruka then gets up with an intense gaze and tells them he'll never let them touch Mito, and then fires an attack that shatters the glass behind them. At the festival, Mito can't stop screaming at the sight of food stalls. That's definitely a way to a girl's heart. But, oh no, is this gonna turn into a Mito and Ren date? Are the Mito x Ren shippers winning right now? With 2 sticks in Mito's hand, Ren wonders how much she's going to eat. Observing her savory hot dog and candied apple, he comments on that being quite the combination, but she wanted both, so she started munchin', making Ren smile. Having taken a bite of his skewer, Mito wants some too, so with a cute aggression, she quickly munches on his. But she can't have all the fun to herself, and offers some of hers to him too, to which he shyly declines. After filling her belly, she notices the daughter of a woman with a Love Magi figurine. Knowing if Ruka were here, he'd definitely want one, and Ren catches on to the sad look on her face. The fireworks then start booming, and with Mito unable to take her eyes off the glowing lights, Ren is unable to take his eyes off of her as he utters the words, "beautiful." Mito couldn't quite hear what he said over the loud fireworks, so she asked him to repeat it in her ear. So, he just straight out says, "I like you," and begins blushing in embarrassment. But she didn't hear that either, so she asks him to repeat himself again. He at first tells her never mind, but then, as he's about to try again, he spots a badly injured Ruka walking into the festival. Mito then runs over to him, screaming frantically seeing him beaten up. He tells her it's nothing and that he just got a little carried away is all. Mito didn't know what he meant by that, but as she looked back for Ren, he was already gone. Ren was already running away, thinking how something he wasn't even aware of naturally slipped out of his mouth. Getting far away enough, he began catching his breath and admitted to himself that he really does like Mito. Back over to where Ruka and Mito are, Ruka apologizes for being late. However, Mito is more concerned about his well-being and wants him to get checked out. Mito then accidentally falls over, so he quickly picks her up, saying if he puts her down, she'll just fall over again. And some girls next to them comment on how bold they are with their PDA. Mito then closes in on Ruka's chest to tell him to seriously put her down, and she doesn't want people to think they're a couple. So, he takes her away from the crowd and sets her down, and tells her with everyone being into the fireworks right now, no one can see them from there. Mito then notices the bridge, and the two of them remember that's the same bridge she almost fell off of. She knows if it weren't for him, she might have died that day. She was so glad he had come to her rescue. Noticing the scrape on her knee, he decides to heal it. He's glad these vampire powers of his have some use every once in a while, even though they're usually used to steal from humans. And in response, Mito says it's her turn too, so she grabs his face and licks his wound. Ooh. She then tells the pain and disinfection to go away, making Ruka say she's only being so bold because no one can see them. And even though she said she didn't want people to think they're a couple, she then responds she thought it would bother him if people thought they were a couple, when one day he must choose a destined partner. He pauses for a moment and answers it doesn't bother him at all. He then pushes her down into the grass and tells her that fated partner stuff doesn't matter to him because right now, all he wants to do is protect the person right in front of him, her, as he goes in to kiss. It's a long kiss filled with love that comes to an end. In Mito's mind, she can't comprehend. She thinks there's no way the two of them had just kissed. She wonders if it's possible Ruka liked her too. His wounds then healed because when she fell, she accidentally bit the inside of her mouth, so he must have drank some of her blood and recovered. She then asks if he just wanted the blood on her lips and didn't mean it as a kiss. No! Stop, Mito, please! Oh my god. Now he's saying, of course that's what that was. Making the excuse that with a whiff of her blood, he couldn't help himself. Mito gasped in disappointment, making Ruka ask if she really wanted it to be a kiss. With him getting too close, she got flustered and shoved him off, telling him that girls won't like it if he plays with them like that. She then walks off, so disappointed it wasn't a kiss, and that he just wanted blood. But she feels like the biggest idiot for feeling happy about it. All while he's thinking he'd never do that with anyone else. Of course he wanted to kiss Mito, regardless if she's a man or woman. Back at their place, the room is a complete mess. Mito starts to pick things up, wondering how things got so bad. But when Ruka grabs her hand to stop her, she gets super embarrassed and scurries off to get a vacuum from the storage area. Outside, he spots Komori carrying a rat, which was that vampire guy from earlier. Komori understands a group of vampires came to visit while he was away, but now they're so exhausted from getting beaten by Ruka, they can't retain their vampire forms. Ruka thought Komori was the one goading them to confront him. However, Komori denied this, claiming their citizens are just weary, wondering if Ruka is truly worthy to become their next leader. Thus, Komori has decided to summon him to their next meeting. He then tells Ruka to come home at once, where he'll be getting a hint at who his destined partner will be. Ruka then responds he doesn't need one, which causes Komori to grip him in a dark bind, telling Ruka he's the country's next leader and his role is to lead everyone. Komori doesn't mind that he fancies Mito, but he doesn't want Ruka to lose sight of his role. Ruka is a little saddened as he stares at Mito passed out next to him. He knows he must choose between having a destined partner to become the leader or the person dearest to him right now. The next day, Komori explains to Mito that he and Ruka are returning to their hometown for a little while. However, Ruka promised to come right back to her, and staring at his serious eyes, she told him she'd be waiting and wished for him to be careful. Knowing he had family to see, she then thought to see if she could stay with Juri and Takata for the time being, but was sad to learn they'd be going back to their homes for the summer break as well. And Takata even cheered, saying with the place all to herself, Mito could have plenty of girls over, making Juri annoyed as he then began dragging him away. As she began eating some noodles in the cafeteria, she thought about how lonely she was. However, with someone watching her, she felt a presence and jolted up, asking who was there. It was the sound of hissing that got closer and closer, so she backed up into Ren. He asked what was freaking her out, but she was just so happy to see someone she knew. He didn't go back home because there's no one for him to go home to either, and she was glad to be no longer alone here. With her grabbing onto him, he remembered his confession over the fireworks she couldn't hear. She wanted to hang with him for the next 2 or 3 days until everyone else came back, but he declined her from hanging with him or even entering his room, and then walked away. In the bath area, Mito wondered if she had done something to make him mad, but still felt better at least knowing she wasn't completely alone. And besides, this was finally her chance to use the dorm's huge public bath. As she began undressing in the changing room, the snake vampire had his sights on Mito. He had originally just come to the academy to tease Ruka, but now he needed a lot of human blood in order to change back to his vampire form. And as a side benefit, now he'll be able to destroy Ruka's most precious toy. At the vampire's domain, the people were criticizing Ruka for not having found his destined partner yet, and especially spending all of his time with a male student in the same room. They questioned if he was really making any effort to look for his destined partner at all. They were concerned without one, he couldn't become a true vampire, and their country would end up in ruins. Back in the changing room, the snake jumped at Mito, and she fell to the ground. He got a little taste, but it still wasn't enough. He found the taste to be just right, having realized she's been fooling Ruka because she's actually a woman. As he goes for another bite, he's surprised to find himself caught by a human with just bare hands. But of course, Ren is not human. He's a Dampir who hates vampires more than anything in this world. He then drains the rest of the snake's power away, turning him into something far more silly. Ren is concerned with her snake bite because she could definitely be poisoned, so he's gonna suck it out. She tries to stop him to prevent her secret from being exposed, but it's no use. She's too weak right now. With the two of them falling over and her binding undone, Ren now realizes her true womanly features. She begs him to not look at her, but Ren is stunned to discover she's a girl. Mito struggles internally, having been discovered she's a woman, but she also struggles physically from the poisonous bite from earlier. Ren apologizes as he grabs her towel to politely cover the fruits of her beauty, before sucking and spitting out the poison. After her wig falls off though, the feelings of disbelief he felt washed away. Now knowing for sure Mito was a woman, he picked her up and began making his way to put her somewhere safe. Back at the vampire's domain, Ruka expresses annoyance at all his future subjects complaining about his life choices, especially because they only do this as a collective, never discussing with him one-on-one. Then, the elderly fortune teller speaks of Ruka's destined partner, to be revealed within her crystal ball, a woman with long, red hair. With only Mito on his mind though, he's frankly disappointed, remarking this to be just fortune telling. He refuses to believe what he's just seen. even though her fortunes have never been wrong. Komori finds Ruka's answer to this all troublesome, especially knowing Ruka definitely wanted a certain someone appearing within the crystal. He tells Ruka to throw his feelings aside, saying love is but trash when compared to fate, adding further that once Ruka finds his destined partner, he'll realize just how much he'll be unable to live without her. Then suddenly, the crystal ball lights up again, because there's more to Ruka's fortune. It seems tonight, Ruka's destined partner will appear by the water's edge, and they'll have a fateful encounter. In darkness, Mito sees herself getting bitten again. Revealing her womanly form, Ruka disdainfully expresses that now knowing she's a woman, the two of them can't be together anymore because he needs to get to his destined partner. She begs for him to stay, dripping in tears, only to awaken from the nightmare in Ren's bed. Remembering what happened, she tries to cover herself as if she's been exposed again, but quickly apologizes to Ren for the secrets she's been keeping, asking him not to expose it. Otherwise, she'll get kicked out of school. To console her, Ren puts his hand on her forehead, gently telling her, "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone," and saying it's okay to not force herself to sound like a guy right now. Relieved, she wipes her tears and thanks him. After learning she's completely recovered from the poison, Ren says that in exchange for his silence, he needs her to go out with him, and this made her gasp. Walking together, Mito was really surprised to learn that when he said, "go out," he meant go outside. She asked him where they were going, and without really saying anything, he took her inside a woman's clothing store, where he was prepared to buy her whatever she wanted. She asked him why he was doing this, and he answered he didn't know much about women, but he heard they liked cute things. So maybe if he got her something from here, it'd cheer her up. And man, this is so romantic. The girls next to them wish they had a cute guy like Ren saying that to them. Getting a little embarrassed, he decides to wait outside until Mito's finished picking, and the store clerk comes up to Mito to give some shopping assistance, showing her a cute dress with some frills on top. Outside, Ren is lost in thought, blushing red just thinking about the way he saw Mito in that locker room. He wonders why he didn't notice sooner, especially since they had even been in a hot spring together. Mito comes outside, and just as Ren is about to say something to her, he's caught completely off guard by her feminine beauty. Seeing how girly she looks now, he wonders why she ever decided to dress like a boy, making her totally flustered, getting compliments her first time embracing this side of herself. Ren lost himself in a daze again, remembering when he confessed to her under the fireworks. And Mito is so fine. Another girl gets pissed her man can't stop looking at her. Even other guys around want to chat her up, so Ren has to give them the scary death stare. Mito answers with a somber tone that, even with a nice face, good things don't usually come of it. Her relatives that took her in didn't even like her much, and oftentimes, weird guys would come after her. She was so fed up with her own face, she decided being a boy was better. Hearing that, Ren walked over to embrace her, telling her not to hate herself because of what others do or say, telling her that if creeps come after her, he'll be the one to protect her from now on. He's glad she's a woman, which gets her wondering if he actually likes her. But then suddenly, a boy from their school appears, wanting to be introduced to Ren's girlfriend. With Mito worried she's going to be exposed, Ren tells her to hurry back to the dorms, and he'll keep the friend busy. With Mito running off, she feels bad for troubling Ren. She makes it to a water fountain, where seeing a reflection, she couldn't help but wonder what Ruka would think if he saw her like this. Even so, she just wanted to see him. And there he is! Mito was so surprised to see him, especially with herself dressed like this. Her bag suddenly fell, so he decided to help pick her things up. Seeing her though, Ruka was at a loss for words, remembering the fortune teller's revelation that he'd meet his destined partner by the water's edge. Remembering Komori's words about being unable to live without her. Not wanting to be exposed, Mito looked away, but Ruka also apologized for staring so rudely. Hearing this, she's surprised he doesn't recognize her. There's a pause of romantic tension, and then sudden, frantic motions to pick her things up. He then hands her her mirror, to which she quickly takes it while thanking him. Ruka then looks away coyfully while saying he's not trying to hit on her, but he would like for the two of them to talk a little after this, making Mito gasp. Sitting at a table near the fountain, Ruka comes back with some strawberry juices for the two of them. Mito shyly nods she's willing to accept it, and the two sit in silence while she tries to pull herself together. With her shuddering, Ruka apologizes, admitting all he does is watch anime, so he doesn't know how to talk to girls, but she already knew that. So, she suggests they talk about anime and asks what kind of anime he likes. However, their attentions are pulled away by light-colored dolphins glowing in the water fountain. Ruka comments that they're pretty cute, but when Mito looks at him, she thinks he's pretty cute. Right now, he thinks she's a girl, and at this very moment, she is a girl right next to him. This makes her very happy. But Ren walking by spots the two of them, wondering why Mito is with Ruka right now. He begins going in to approach them, but seeing the two get excited heading towards the fountain, Ren stops himself seeing her smile. He thought she didn't want Ruka to find out, and this pain in his heart made his fist clench, observing the beautifully projected dolphins. Ruka then tells her he knows this probably sounds made up, but he feels like this isn't the first time they've met. Even so, he wants to see her again, catching her off guard. She wonders what she should do, because she also wants to see him again this way, but instead of answering, she just tells him she wants some gelato. And oh boy, this makes her happy. Seeing some of it on her face, he decides to wipe it off, and catching each other's gaze eye to eye, his vampire instincts kick in. As he's about to go for a bite, the bell tolls at 9 p.m. He apologizes for getting so close. However, Mito apologizes as well, running off saying she's got to go home. But he stops her. He wants her contact info or even just her name. But, with teary eyes in her face, she apologizes, telling him she doesn't think they can ever meet again, and then runs off. Ruka is flabbergasted, seeing as how he instinctively tried sucking a woman's blood. Komori then appears, asking what he'll do now that he's met the woman he can't live without. So Ruka runs after her, and by himself, it seems Komori's known about Mito's identity all along. With Mito running as hard as she could, she reflects on how happy Ruka was seeing her as a woman. She was happy, but as long as she's a man in front of Ruka, she'll never truly be the object of his affection. Ruka tells her to wait, as he's about to catch up to her, but she suddenly gets pulled away. And oh man, it was Ren. She thanked him because she thought Ruka was gonna find out, but then he suddenly kisses her. Yo! She asks why, and Ren answers he doesn't care if she's a man or woman. He wants to protect her as her lover. Elsewhere, in a dark mansion, Ren's father sits, commenting on the pleasure he's had observing the chaos in the vampire world. He felt the Dampiers who have been shunned until now had always possessed unique abilities, and on Ren's 17th birthday, his ability will awaken to the fullest potential. Once Ren utters his wish after drinking the blood of Ruka's destined partner. Walking back inside the dorms, that red-haired woman was the only thing on Ruka's mind. Opening the door to his room, Mito welcomed him home happily. Getting close to her, he was about to admit he had met his destined partner, but he let it go, saying it was late and time for bed. Mito smiled, but we could feel her visible unhappiness. Lying in bed, she's conflicted, thinking she should be happy he didn't find out her secret, but now feels kind of sad. She hops over to Ruka's bed, and in his sleep, he rolls over and embraces her, uttering the words, "I want to see her again." Knowing he's dreaming about her womanly self, Mito's happiness and sadness continue to blend. Ren screams in tears, begging his mother not to go, only to wake up suddenly to his phone vibrating. It's a call from his father, who's telling him to meet at their mansion next Saturday, and that his mother is looking forward to it. Hearing that really gets Ren motivated to go. At the cafe, Komori has all the workers dressed comfortably to handle renovations. And to save money, everyone is going to work on DIY projects, in which he displays his thoughts on changes he needs done. However, the entire time, Mito wonders why Ruka hasn't mentioned anything about the girl version of her he met. But, seeing a silhouette at the door, Ruka quickly runs to it, hoping it was her. But it was just some random girl who wanted to know if the cafe was open yet. Looking at him from behind though, Mito's heart aches, wishing she could reveal her secret to him. But with one look at her, he sees the same girl from that night, and is left in a daze. They all have to start moving the furniture around, and with Mito struggling to pick up the heavy stuff, Ren comes in to assist. Komori remarks he must be here to earn some easy money, but Ren smoothly responds that's not the only reason he's here. Just looking at Ren reminds Mito of the kiss they shared, which embarrasses her a little, so she moves on to do more work. Looking at the renovation plans, Juri asks if something happened between Mito and Ren over summer break, and when she starts blushing and going silent, Juri only wants to know more. So, she told him that Ren confessed to her, making Juri shriek. However, she still likes Ruka. Takata comes back with the paint they needed, and accidentally spills it all over Mito. So Ruka's logical step is to come in and take off his shirt to give it to her? He says it'll be hard to get the paint off her skin, so she better hurry and change. But, I've never had this issue with paint before. Well, wait, did you mean change in front of everyone? Ruka asks what's wrong, but Ren comes into the rescue, acting all cool, saying, even if we're all men, if he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to. Ren tells her to change behind him, which gets Ruka and Ren seething at each other. Luckily, Juri breaks the tension to tell them they're low on paint now, and he needs the three of them to go buy some more. And with that, the three of them are now awkwardly shopping. Mito tries to escape to the paint section, but runs into a board. As it comes crashing down, Ruka saves her this time, and staring at her, he wonders why Mito looks like that girl. He completely blows the moment by asking if she's put on weight, and she runs away. Ren then comes up to Ruka, telling him since he was interested in the girl at the park, he should just back off of Mito. Ruka is surprised that he knows about the park incident, but Ren goes on further saying Mito has lived a lonely life, and Ruka is the only one he relies on. Bro, this is some manipulative play. They're the same girl! Ruka admits he couldn't help it because that girl is his destined partner. If he were to bring her home, he would officially be acknowledged as the vampire world's leader. And knowing the truth of Mito's identity, this takes Ren aback. When Ruka first became a vampire, he didn't know anyone in the human world. He was so lonely, but a red-haired girl asked him why he was always by himself. He tried to push her away, saying with his fangs he'd eat her. But she took the opportunity to tell him, "Tag, you're it," and the two played together. She was the first human who approached him without any hesitation. But one day, she fell over and scraped her knees, and the sight of blood caused his vampire instincts to kick in, making the young girl cry before passing out in his arms. After that, she never appeared in front of him again. Since then, he vowed to never drink women's blood and to never fall in love. But as soon as he found his destined partner, he felt the urge to make her his. Ren begins going into a mental panic hearing Ruka is serious about the female version of Mito. If her secret gets out, she'll definitely be taken into the vampire world. A destined partner, Ren's mother was called the same thing and followed his vampire father. He doesn't want Mito to get taken away. So, he tells Ruka that he confessed to Mito because he's truly in love with her. And walking away from Ruka, he says he'll do whatever it takes to protect her. With Mito waiting outside, Ren comes in to hug her from behind, but she has no idea why. However, the thoughts of protecting her are all that swirl within his mind. Back at the cafe in the evening, Ruka puts a cover over Mito to keep her warm, while remembering Ren's words. Juri suggests Ruka and Mito rest up first, and the rest of them will continue to work on the cafe projects. However, Ren won't let them rest alone. So, lying in bed with both of them, Mito wonders how she got in this situation. No matter which way she faces, she feels so awkward. Ruka then whispers, asking what she thinks of Ren. She responds that he's always looking after her and that he's a really good guy. But she doesn't know why he'd ask her that. Ruka then admits he may have found his destined partner, a woman with beautiful eyes that felt somehow nostalgic to him. He felt like it was fate at first glance, making Mito glow, realizing she's his actual destined partner. Ruka asks Mito if he were to marry this woman, would she still support him the same way? He still wants Mito to always be by his side. He doesn't want to lose her. She agrees and is very happy, yet still somewhat sad. So Ren grabs her hand, and face to face, he tells her to go out with him next Saturday, so he can tell her about humans who become a vampire's destined partner. The next day, the Café La Fray renovation is complete. Mito tries to take an order for a customer, but Ren quickly butts in to handle it instead, and the sight of him makes her blush once again. With Ruka working just as hard, he's got beef with Ren, telling him he's going to do his best to take care of his best friend Mito, and show Ren his kindness towards her isn't fickle. But then, Komori suddenly comes up to Ruka saying he himself got an invitation to something. After work, Mito and Ren arrived at his family's mansion. Seeing the sight of the place shocked Mito because she had no idea he was so rich. Man, Rich, handsome, strong. Ren's got everything. At the entrance, a maid peeked her head outside the door, and seeing Ren, they swarmed him, glad their young master had returned. Then, his mother came to embrace him, apologizing for leaving him alone for so long. Next to appear, though, is his father, who reminds him it's been 10 years since they've seen each other. A maid then tells them they should head inside as they'll be prepping things for Ren's 17th birthday tomorrow, something Mito had no idea about. The mother mentions she'll be turning Mito into a beautiful young lady to celebrate, which should be alarming that they already know Mito is a girl when she hadn't said anything. Getting dressed, Mito asks Ren's mother what it's like being a destined partner, and she eerily answers happily that it's amazing, even when she had to leave her child and family behind. She thinks Mito would love becoming a vampire too, and she'd get to live in the land of the vampires for eternity. A knock on the door, and Ren's father brought in Ren, whose gaze became fixated on Mito. In the evening, the guests approached, and we see Komori and Ruka. Oh, that's what the invitation was about. Komori committed to it because he has a special connection to this family. Ren's father then had an announcement to make. His son Ren, heir to the Nikaido company, is celebrating his engagement to Mito, although she had no idea she was engaged. She tries shouting to explain to Ruka. We flash back to Ren's father saying if Ren stole Mito from Ruka, he would be rid of his status of Dhampir and eventually lead the world of the vampires. He then reveals when a Dhampir becomes 17, a special power within him will awaken, and all he needs to do is utter his wish when drinking Mito's blood. For Ren, he knows if Mito isn't a woman, Ruka wouldn't be able to make her his destined partner. So, with the clock striking, he desires to make Mito his with a bite. This doesn't make her happy though, so she pushes him away, so embarrassed it happened right in front of Ruka, and runs out of the building. Ruka comes outside to meet her, and in a teary panic, she explains everything and he comforts and believes her. She remembers Ren's mother mentioning if she becomes a destined partner, she could be with the one she loves forever. She felt the dress was a little tight, so Ruka decided to help her get it off. And oh my god, she's actually become a man, still being shirtless up top. She screamed for Ruka to not look at her. So he covered Mito with his jacket and picked her up because it was time to leave. However, this didn't sit right with Ren. After a shower, Mito stared at her new boyish figure. She couldn't believe she had become a man, and was now saddened that if she stayed like this, Ruka would never realize she was a girl. Ruka suddenly opened the door to bring in some shampoo, but with Mito still being a girl at heart, she hid her chest reflexively and told him to get out. At the cafe, Komori announced they'd be opening a haunted mansion full of handsome men to coincide with the school festival. It's usually a big hit with the ladies from other schools every year. Juri comments that Mito looked pretty manly today, making her somewhat embarrassed. He then whispers into her ear that there's a legend that if you do a certain thing at the school festival, you'll end up with the person you like. If a couple were to kiss before the bonfire flames go out during the last night of the festival, legend has it they'll be together forever. That's where Juri plans on confessing to Takara before it's over. He's pretty scared, but seeing Mito try her best made him want to give it his all too. Mito then hugs Juri to cheer him on, and is optimistic, determined to find a way to change back into a girl to be with Ruka forever. And you can be mine forever when you like this video and subscribe to my channel. My subscriber, that is. Here on my Shoujo Weekly, I've got plenty of spicy romances for you to watch. So come on, hit that subscribe, I'll be your guy. In the changing room, Ren walks in on Mito undressing and begins blushing, looking away from her. However, Mito was not happy with him. She figured he had something to do with her becoming a man and wants Ren to change her back, but he refuses, knowing if she turns back into a girl, she'll become Ruka's. He plans on staying by her side no matter what, woman or man, and pulling up her shirt, he tells her, "Don't lead me on anymore." We move back to Hijirigaoka Boys Academy Cultural Festival, where there's a variety of booths and activities. Although, most girls are waiting in the long line for the haunted mansion. Seeing Ruka and Mito being playful towards each other, Ren feels disdain. To Mito though, she's still not good with the fact that he turned her into a guy. The haunted mansion is pretty much working as designed, scaring plenty of girls. But with one look at vampire Ruka, they begin screaming with hearts in their eyes, asking for their blood to get sucked. Then, when Mito asks for some blood as well, even more girls begin their lustful screams. Ruka then follows up with a bit of roleplay, telling Mito that if she's going to try to take the girls away from him, he'll suck her blood first. And the girls can't take their eyes off of the action. When Ruka goes in for a bite, Mito whispers, "Bite me gently, please," causing the girls to scream BL vampires is so hot. In some coffins, Juri and Takada are tightly snug together. Juri asks why they have to be like this, so Takada responds that his werewolf isn't scary enough by itself, because he's too cute. Takada hears some customers walk by, so he gets ready to jump out for a scare, but Juri holds him close to prevent it. Juri then admitted he hoped Takada thought he was cuter than any girl he saw, and that he'd wait for his answer at the bonfire tonight, leaving Takada wide-eyed by himself in the coffin. At the bonfire, with Ruka and Mito having strawberry juices together, Ruka opened up about how he always thought he'd find going to human schools boring. But since he was able to make great memories with Mito, he felt it wasn't so bad, making her gasp. He then added he'd never forget the two of them watching this flame together, which made Mito respond, "Wouldn't you rather see it with your destined partner?" However, he had no idea where to find her, but if he did, he'd make sure to never let her go. He's going to make her his bride and promise to make her happy. Looking down, Mito knows this is technically all about her, and yet she wonders why she feels so hurt. The fire then gets a little too hot for Ruka, so he backs away but accidentally bumps into Mito and spills the strawberry juice all over her. Seeing her soaked in all red and smelling the strawberry scent, he's compelled to bite. But when she says his name, he holds himself back, because what if someone sees them? However, she tells him he should suck her blood. In her mind, he wants her to realize she's his destined partner, but he turns away, telling Mito they should just join in on the dancing. With him walking away, Mito thinks back to the legend Juri told her and runs up to kiss him. She then says instead of loving this absent destined partner, "Love me, who's right in front of you." Ruka then sees the tears run down her eyes, but then Mito runs away. Lying against a building, Mito tries to recollect herself, knowing that kiss is probably only going to cause Ruka more problems. But knowing she is his destined partner, she just wanted him to notice her already. On another day, Mito learned Juri confessed to Takada, but Takada still hasn't answered him, and the two have been distant since the cultural festival, same as Mito and Ruka. Juri was fine with things ending up this way though, so if Takada was going to end up with a girl, he wanted to have a hand in picking them. That's why he's thinking about holding a mixer where he can pick a girl that would have a good personality for Takada. On another day, the gang decided to go hiking, but things were still a little awkward. But the sight of the pretty girls Juri invited made Takada light up. However, the last girl invited was a shock for Ruka and Mito. Why was a girl who looked just like her here? This girl, Miko, came right up to Ruka apologizing to him for running away the other day after their date. She brought up the ice cream they had together was delicious, making Mito wonder how this girl would know about an experience only the two of them had. Hearing this girl's thoughts though, it's revealed that she'd been watching them the whole time, and that this was a scheme set up by Ren's father. He mocked Komori standing behind him, knowing this would be his chance to take revenge. But Komori was still, wondering if Ruka could figure this out on his own. Ruka and Mito sat alone together, and wind blew something into her eye, prompting her to ask Ruka to get it out for her. Mito had been getting drinks for everyone, but coming back, she was at a loss seeing the man she loved so close to this imposter. With Ruka noticing her, she ran off, so Miko said she'd go after her. Elsewhere, Juri is crying over Takada spending his time with the two girls, but he showed up, admitting he hated seeing Juri cry. We turn to Miko and Mito alone on the bridge. Miko has become harsh and cocky with her words. While Mito questioned why she was being impersonated, Miko then snaps her fingers, causing the bridge to split in two, and now the two of them are hanging for dear life. Miko's gamble? Ruka can fly, but he can't save both of them. So will he choose his destined partner, or will he choose Mito? Ruka finds them, and the two girls call out to him. Miko makes the aggressor play and lets go, causing Ruka to grab her, and she gives the nastiest smirk at Mito's pain. Mito then falls, with her heart knowing Ruka didn't choose her, and plunges into the water. Mito sank into the water, only thinking about how Ruka didn't choose her, questioning if she was wrong to even think he'd choose her in the first place. She thought back to when he had first saved her. She remembered him telling her if she needed someone to need her, he would be the one if she wanted. But now, It seems Ruka didn't need her anymore. She'd probably never be loved by Ruka ever again. So, she'd rather stay in the water and sink to the depths forever. She heard the voice of a man asking if she wanted to die, and then Komori appeared, breathing air into her drowning lips. Carrying her out, he placed her gently by a rock and took away her Sucre. Ruka searched for her, saddened he couldn't grab Mito's hand as she fell. That's when Komori appeared to explain he left her in his hands. At Ren's mansion, Ren noticed Mito was crying in her sleep, and he began to wipe her tears. She woke up, a bit dazed and confused. So, Ren explained she was brought here unconscious by Komori. Mito then began crying into her pillow, telling Ren that Ruka didn't choose her and that he has someone else now. She wants to forget the pain. She wants to forget Ruka. Patting her head, Ren told her he could grant that wish. So he laid her down and asked Mito to trust him. And with him going in for a bite, Mito teared up but was relieved she could finally forget Ruka. Back in the dorms, Ruka told himself he felt like he made a mistake. But all of a sudden, his cat began taking an offensive stance. That's when Miko entered his room to hug him from behind. She was apparently worried about him. As Ruka's cat continued to fiercely growl at her, she offered Ruka a drink from her neck, taking Ruka aback because how could she possibly know he's a vampire? She answered that she was his destined partner, of course. But when she touched his hand, he pulled away feeling a sudden chill, as if his body is refusing to drink her blood. Komori then appeared, telling Ruka it seems like he was able to find his destined partner just fine. He then welcomed Miko as a new vampire's bride, and told her that she'd be accompanying them right away to the land of the vampires, where they'd hold a wedding there. The two must vow to be together forever in front of everyone. Miko then gave a sinister smirk, replying, "With pleasure." But Ruka still felt something was off. With a snap of Komori's fingers, he summoned a carriage to take them away, and his bats put Miko in her bride's dress. Komori told Ruka to prepare himself to marry her and take his place as founder. Ruka had reservations, but Komori told him this was what was best for everyone. Staring outside the window of the carriage, Komori asked if something was troubling Ruka. Learning Mito was still on his mind, Komori assured Ruka she was fine, resting safely at Ren's home, which still put a visible reaction on Ruka's face. Komori then got up to place the Sucre on Miko's neck, but Ruka wasn't so happy since he had given that to Mito. Then, in Ruka's mind, all his moments with Mito flashed, especially that moment she told him to love the person in front of him. He then smiled and pulled the Sucre off of Miko, and with the carriage open, Komori questioned if he was truly choosing Mito. Komori told him if he was, he would truly be banished forever. Ruka didn't care, however, accepting that he may never become a true vampire. He declared that Mito was the only one he loved. Even if Mito is a guy, even if Mito isn't his destined partner, he would love Mito to the end. Miko called after Ruka, but Komori told her to drop the act. She was surprised to discover Komori had known the entire time and was just testing Ruka. So she transformed back into her true form, a black cat vampire. And with that, Komori knew he had chosen the right one to be his successor. Ruka made it to the gate of Ren's mansion. He burst in looking for Mito, only to see Ren casually sitting on the couch. Ren asked why he bothered showing up now, but Ruka wasn't in the mood to play around. He wanted to see Mito right now. Mito then entered, bringing in the tea she made for her and Ren. She walked right past Ruka, not even acknowledging him at all. Ruka told her to come home with him, but she truly had no idea who he was. When Ruka explained they lived together in the dorms, Mito was confused, as if hearing this for the first time. To her, she's always lived with Ren. Ruka asked Ren what was going on, to which Ren responded, "Nothing, really. He just lent a hand granting Mito's wish. He knows she must have experienced something traumatic." Ruka then quickly remembered the mistake he had made not saving Mito, and with that, Ren told Ruka to go home and that from this point on, he'd never allow Ruka to see her again. Ruka then bowed, pleading, throwing his dignity away to have Ren let him stay here too. All Ruka wanted was to at least stay by Mito's side, and that's when Ren's father appeared, telling Ren to let Ruka stay since he had no place to belong anymore. This hit home with Mito, thinking Ruka was now like how she used to be. She then asked Ren to let Ruka stay as well and work here, because she knew just how painful it was to not have a place to belong. So, Ren accepted, but if Ruka pulled any funny business, he'd be kicked out in an instant. Mito then came over to Ruka, telling him she'd teach him everything she knew, and then began leading him to the servant's room so he could rest. With her leaving him to his quarters to sleep in, Ruka tried to stop her, but he had nothing to say at this point. The next day, Ruka began doing his servant work, just happy to have Mito by his side. They had to keep the garden nice, since Mito and Ren were going to have their wedding soon. Hearing this really astonished Ruka. But to Mito, she never imagined getting married. She was fond of Ren, since he not only took her in from the streets, but whenever she struggled, he always supported her. She was surprised that he chose her of all people. Hearing this, Ruka hid his face, uttering that there was always someone who supported him too. That someone was very important to him, but he never realized it while that person was by his side. He knew now that no matter how strongly he felt, it was too late. Mito then sprayed him with water, giggling because she felt that maybe she could wash it all away for him. So he sprayed her back, and tripping on the hose, he fell on top of her. With a tear dripping from his eye, he then said, "Sorry." With the two so close to each other, he wondered if she really had forgotten about him. She asked him what was wrong, but then he got up and told her it was nothing and helped her off the ground. Mito then smiled at him, hoping that Ruka's feelings would eventually reach the person he was talking about. She then ran off to get some additional tools, and that's when Ruka spotted the Sangsuke that must have fallen out of his pocket. With it being pitch black, he concluded that there must not even be an ounce of love left for him in Mito, but he accepted this, knowing it was punishment for hurting her. Back in the house, Mr. Nikaido laughed at the idea of Ruka kneeling so pathetically. With Miko entering the room, Ren then began discovering the plan his father had hatched, and thinking back to all the pain Mito had suffered, Ren now knew his father was the true case of Mito's pain, and now he was conflicted. By himself, Ruka held the black-hearted Sangsuke. The black color he felt was punishment for hurting Mito. He uttered the words, "I love you, Mito," and became astonished to see it glowing. Looking at their wedding outfits, Ren's mother was gushing. Ren then told Mito he was truly happy this day had come, and he'd cherish her forever. He then left to go do more wedding prep, and by herself, Mito could hardly believe she was getting married. She'd been on her own for what seemed like forever, with no family to rely on, but from now on, Ren would always be by her side. But then suddenly, a vision flashed in her mind. She questioned if she was truly alone this entire time. She now felt there was someone else who had taken her in, but the thoughts were blurry. Then, next to enter was Ruka, wanting to hand the now red-colored Sangsuke to Mito, and in her mind, she wondered where she had heard of a Sangsuke before. Ruka explained that the heart turns red the more you're loved by someone, and as you learn what it feels like to be loved. Mito's eyes glimmered as Ruka explained the red in it now was the color of his love for her. He then told her, "I love you, Mito. It doesn't matter if you're a man or woman, or some destined partner. None of that matters. Even if you never remember me, I'll continue to love you forever." He then put the Sangsuke in her hand and wished her happiness as he walked away. Mito didn't have any memories of him, but for some reason her eyes watered. She wondered why she couldn't stop crying. With the wedding ceremony beginning, Ren's mother walked Mito down the aisle, and his father cockily monologued that the ritual for his son to become the leader of the vampires was about to commence. In Mito's mind, she knew Ren had always been there for her, always supported her, but most importantly, he's someone who loved her. Standing side by side, the wedding officiant asks Ren if he swears to continue to love Mito, despite the stigma of hardship and loneliness that Dampiers carry. And Ren vowed to love Mito forever. But when Mito was asked, for some reason, she became choked up and the crowd noticed. Her eyes became teary, and she felt for some reason she couldn't make her vows. She thought she wanted a happy future with Ren, but questioned why Ruka's face wouldn't leave her mind. And then, Ruka burst open the doors. He walked towards them, telling Mito not to cry any further, telling her if she kept this up, her blood would taste worse than it already does. All the memories then clearly flashed in her mind, and she remembered everything now, especially remembered how much she loved him. Ruka then walked up and held her face for a passionate kiss. He told Mito he loved her too, and wished he had realized his feelings sooner. Holding her close, he was never going to let her go. Mito then began glowing, and then suddenly transformed back into a girl. Ruka was certainly shocked, as Mito began apologizing for deceiving him. And now, he realized she was the destined partner he had met with back then. To him, This was absolutely amazing. But Ren's father, Rotis, wasn't going to have this. He was going to use his powers to wipe Mito's memory completely. But Ren quickly stopped him. He wasn't going to let his father hurt the first person he ever loved. Then Komori appeared, announcing Rotis's foiled plans and even bringing Miko along, who showed her true form as a black cat. Ren's father was pissed, questioning why Komori, who was also his master, hadn't chosen him as the next leader. But Komori wasn't happy Rotis tried to use his own son to attain his unfulfilled wishes. Rotis felt some remorse, but also felt there should have been no one else worthy to be the next founder except for himself. Komori then explained only those with a strong heart, who would not succumb to the power of deceit, were worthy in his eyes. He believed that Ruka would find true love and had the heart to see through it, and thus had proven himself to Komori. Komori then apologized to Ruka for putting him through all the suffering, but he knew Mito was Ruka's destined partner the entire time. With that, Ruka held Mito close once again, and Ren calmly walked out. Back at the dorms, Mito was happy to be back. Marion was certainly happy to see Ruka again, but not so much Mito. Ruka then questioned how long Mito was going to keep pretending to be a guy. But of course, going to an all-boys academy, they can't let people know she's a woman. So, Ruka hugged her from behind, accepting she was right, because the guys would be all over her after finding out how cute she was. He then laid her on the bed, but not to suck her blood, instead to cuddle on her. Right now, all he wanted was Mito's presence, and as they began to kiss, he took off her wig. Mito could hardly believe all of this, but she was the happiest she could be right now, with their romantic embrace. The next morning, Mito screamed, telling Ruka he can't just crawl into her bed whenever he wants, but feels silly when he reminds her this is actually his bed. She then remembered that she had to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and naturally made her way into Ruka's bed. She tried apologizing, but he was fine with it, pulling her in for cuddles, telling her he wanted to stay like this just a little longer. However, Komori appeared to ruin the moment, telling Ruka he was going to be late. Komori also had to return home in order to prepare for Ruka's wedding and leader induction. He then warned Ruka to be careful moving forward, as there would definitely be others like Rotis who weren't so fond of the idea of someone as young as Ruka becoming founder, and Mito might also be put in harm's way. After Komori took off, Mito began to gush, realizing from now on, this would mean she and Ruka would be alone flirting all the time, all while Ruka just kept thinking he'd do whatever it takes to protect her. Ruka then held her hand in the hallway as they walked to class, and Takada and Juri spotted them, but they were just as astonished to hear Ruka admit he loved Mito and that they were now going out together. A teacher then came by to remind Mito the standard exams were coming up, also reminding her that her grades were pretty low, and if she failed, she'd have to take extra lessons on her day off. So, the boys all offered to study together with her, an especially good idea since Ruka always had high marks, having studied hard since Komori had threatened to destroy his love magi figures if he ever failed. Outside, Mito spotted Ren about to take off, so she went to talk to him. Ren admitted he was fine losing to Ruka, but felt too ashamed to see Mito again. He felt bad for using underhanded moves and force to get with her. With him about to take off, Mito thanked him for protecting her the entire time. He then responded that he didn't regret falling for her, and was grateful she showed him how to love someone. He then asked for a parting gift, but since it was so sudden, Mito hadn't prepared one. So, he took a gift for himself, with her lips. And with him taking off, and her completely flustered, he told her not to tell Ruka, wishing her happiness forever. Back in the classroom, Mito was searching for her notebooks so they could all study together, and Ruka suddenly grabbed her for embrace, covering them behind some curtains so no one could see them. He took off her wig, so he could enjoy himself being the only one at school who knows her secret right now. She squeezed onto his jacket, happily accepting his desire as the two passionately kissed. Later, in class, a new student was introduced, Ruze Tsukishiro, but Ruka wasn't too pleased to see him. Why are they ending this season in a cliffhanger? I bet Ruze is for sure a vampire. Well anyways, I'm glad things ended happily between Mito and Ruka. This anime was such a roller coaster of emotions. Subscribe to the channel for more content. Also, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.